Hello, you're listening to Hugo Talks. Before I start the video today, I just wanted to say thank you to Brand New Tube who have put my videos on their Rhodium channel. I can now upload videos on there, so I will be putting videos up on Brand New Tube. And I put an exclusive one there yesterday about Sir Captain Tom Moore. So if you want to take a look at it, click on the link in the description and in the comments pinned to the top. So anyhow, another update on care home outbreaks. I'm keeping an eye on these, and most of these reports are from the last few days. So we've got this one from Spain in the Sun. COVID tragedy, 9 care home residents dead and 69 infected in mass COVID outbreak 6 days after getting vaccine, it says here. 9 care home residents have died after a horrific COVID outbreak just 10 days after having the first dose of the Pfizer vaccine. Now, there is quite a few of these outbreaks in UK and Ireland, but what I've noticed is that they rarely ever mention whether they have had the jab or not. I suppose if you're in the UK, then you have to presume they probably did, as 95% of care home residents have had the jab, so says the Association for Care Homes. And in Ireland, I don't think it's quite as much as that, but I believe the majority of them have also had it as well. Anyhow, back to this Spanish care home. The tragic outbreak at El Salvador care home in Spain left all but one of 78 residents infected. The facility's residents and staff members were infected with the first dose of the Pfizer vaccine on January the 13th. 6 days later, 10 residents started showing symptoms of the virus, but they don't believe it has anything to do with the vaccine. They say, however, COVID-19 symptoms begin to appear 5 to 14 days after a person is infected, meaning it's highly likely the residents were infected with the disease before getting their jab. Do they not be doing tests on these residents and staff a lot of the time? I mean, surely they must have been doing tests on a regular basis and would have known if 10 or so of the residents had been infected at the time the vaccines took place, wouldn't they? And nobody knew, and none of the staff had been tested in the lead up to getting the vaccine? It goes on, it says, General Director of the NGO told radio station Cope said he believes the outbreak was caused by a staff member or one of the people administering the vaccines who are asymptomatic. Again, are they not testing their staff? Don't these care home staff have rigorous testing going on in these care homes? The NGO said he didn't think the cause of the outbreak was the COVID jab and that the home is delighted to vaccinate its residents, adding, the sooner everyone receives their vaccine, the better, he said. Mr. Meller said, I do not think it was because of the vaccine. That is to save lives and not to infect residents. Notice he said, I do not think it was because of the jab. So he's not sure, he doesn't know. He says, I do not think it was because of the vaccine. I would be curious to know how many of these residents in this care home have died of COVID over the last year. But that information isn't available in the article. But I would estimate that it is very rare for them to have 9 deaths in the space of a week. I bet that doesn't happen very often. Anyhow, the care home boss continued. He says, maybe some of the people who were going to vaccinate were asymptomatic and have brought it, or maybe one of the workers was positive and it coincided that they were infected on a date similar to that of the vaccine, but not that it is the vaccine. Oh no, far from it, he says. Yes, don't even contemplate for a second that that was the case, whatever you do. It's just coincidence. 9 dead. That's what, 11% of all the residents, and every other resident, 77 out of 78, were infected apart from one, just one, a mere 10 days after the jab. Either way you look at it, the jab didn't do much to keep the symptoms down of the 9 that died. So here we have Guernsey outbreak at Guernsey Care Home. This is a small care home, only 11 residents, but all 11 residents have been moved to hospital. 2 residents and 2 staff infected, and all residents received their first dose of Pfizer 3 weeks ago. Here we have Ireland, Kildare outbreak at Kildare nursing home claims 9 lives. Virus infects 40 residents and 40 staff at Beach Park nursing home since mid-January, with 9 dead. No mention of whether or not they had the vaccine. It's kind of important information to leave out, irrespective of what way you might be looking at this story. Seeing that the Irish government said it wanted to get all care home residents vaccinated by the end of January, we are now in February, and they started doing vaccinations at the start of January, I'd say they probably have had it. Okay, so this is from 3 days ago, again staying in Ireland. The Journal, i.e. death toll in nursing homes passes 1,500, with 369 in January alone. It says here from the end of December to the end of January, care home COVID deaths have increased by 500%, 5 times. In this report, they seem to believe this increase is because they didn't roll out the jabs early enough. They say it is appropriate to remind that the National Immunisation Advisory Committee agreed nursing home residents and staff would be priority. The first vaccines arrived in Ireland on 26th of December, yet the first was only administered in a private or voluntary nursing home on the 7th of January 2021. So now back to the UK. Kettering battling 10 care home COVID outbreaks. This is from Friday, February the 5th. All these reports are from the last 3 days. 10 care homes in Kettering district are now battling an outbreak of COVID-19, latest figures from health officials have shown. The care homes and care services, which have not been named by Northamptonshire's public health team, all have 2 or more cases, which are linked by time and place, it says here. Care home residents have now received 1 dose of the COVID vaccine, but protection can take more than 2 weeks to develop, it says. Here we have in Northern Ireland, in a newspaper called Newsletter, Department of Health quizzed over COVID outbreaks in 127 Northern Ireland care homes. The Department of Health was yesterday unable to say when families might restart face-to-face visits in care homes again and why there are still COVID outbreaks at 26% of the facilities when the vaccination programs there are almost complete. Now, it states in the article that not only have 100% of the care home residents in Northern Ireland received their first dose, but 80% of them have received their second dose. So most of these people must have had their first jab well over 3 weeks ago. Yet even though the full 2-dose vaccination has been given to 80% of all care home residents, it says, however, concerningly, yesterday there were still 127 live COVID outbreaks in Northern Ireland care homes, which accounts for 26% of all 482 facilities. It then goes on to say, as the care home vaccination program is nearing completion, and in some cases residents had their second jabs weeks ago, that's 80%, the Newsletter, the newspaper, put a series of questions to the Department of Health about when visiting restrictions might be relaxed, and how and why are they still so high when even the first jabs are predicted to give substantial immunity levels to residents? These are the questions the paper has put to the Department of Health. When should we expect to see care home outbreaks dropping off in light of first and second jabs? How long after the second jab do vaccine producers say the immune response should be fully activated? Is this expected to be any different for the elderly or infirm? Question. And what was the reply from the Department of Health? A DOH spokesman responded, "We are due to issue press releases today and Monday, which will cover your queries. However, there were no answers to the questions above yesterday, which may therefore be addressed next week." Now, I've had a look around and I can't find the answers to these questions, so maybe they haven't answered them, who knows. And here's another one, February the 2nd, in Ireland. Over 30 residents die in Cork Kerry nursing homes in 2 weeks. More than 30 residents of 4 Cork nursing homes and a community hospital in Kerry have died in just 2 weeks following COVID-19 outbreaks. They had all received their first jab, were awaiting their second one. And here we have Manchester Evening News, where a professor who is seeing all of these outbreaks in care homes happening, he says, deep concern about COVID outbreaks among care home residents who have had first vaccine jab. Professor Martin Vernon says the government's decision to space out doses up to 12 weeks is quite extraordinary. This is from February the 2nd. An expert says outbreaks of COVID-19 are appearing in care homes after residents have had their first dose of the vaccine. Professor Martin Vernon, a consultant geriatrician in Greater Manchester, says he is deeply concerned by infection outbreaks within and beyond 21 days of vaccination. He says he can't understand why the government are stretching out the first and second dose to longer than 21 days, as this is unknown territory in regards to the trials. He added, "I think it's really quite extraordinary the government has taken this step." Here is his tweet. So, yeah, that's a professor, and he's saying, what's going on here? Then we have Scotland. This was today, February the 5th. Daily record, 10 dead at Scots care home after coronavirus outbreak infects 68 other residents and staff. Moss View care home in Lochgelly, Fife was temporarily closed to new admissions and visitors. Again, no mention of if they had the jab or not. I'm going to presume they have, for the reasons mentioned earlier, that the National Care Forum had reported last week that 95% of care homes in the UK have had the vaccine. So, there are more, and there's only so much time. I just wanted to document these reports, and when they happened, keep a record of them, so to speak. As always, thanks for listening, and come and subscribe to hugotalks.com so I can keep you up to date with what's going on in case YouTube censor me in the future. See you later.
Wow, that was a good one. Hugo Talks. You don't get that in the mainstream media. Anyway, I'm not getting the jab. You go right ahead. Nice knowing you.